WildEarth.tv if you're on the email and haven't extended to using Twitter yet. Right, we're now on the very far southern boundary. I originally was coming this way because I thought I heard lions. Well, I actually did hear lions early this morning, and deep inside me I know that they are well south of the property, but I thought, let me come here and look anyway. I don't know what a lion looks like anymore. I haven't found any tracks, so I think they are deep south. With any luck, we'll find some wild dogs coming this way. Along we go. We're now on the southern boundary, heading due east. And report to the dogs that there's a road called Cheetah Cut Line, which is our eastern boundary, and tracks heading towards that, dogs heading towards that early this morning. I'm just going to contact Aubrey on the radio and tell him what's happening. Morning, Aubrey. 2 stations mobile from WildEarth, one going north, one going south towards Cheetah Cut Line. And apparently reports of wild dogs going west from Torture Campus. There we go. And we are in contact, of course, with the other game drives. I'm just listening to Aubrey now. Right. Nothing of any interest. He's just getting mobile. And of course, as everybody gets mobile, we're all normally out first at WildEarth because we don't have to get people out of bed, feed them coffee, and then put them on the back of the Land Rover. And so they all start to get mobile now. Of course, one of the things about coming on a safari holiday is that although you're supposed to be on holiday, it's the only holiday in the world where people will wake you up at 4:30 in the morning and make you get out of bed. What have you got? Tebs has spotted the dogs. You saw that dog? Well done, Dizzy. Fortunately, we're not... Eh? They're killing. They're eating. They're eating. But unfortunately, they're just off our reserve. There they are. They're just over here. There. They're coming again. They're eating. They've just killed an impala. I have to stop here, everybody. I can't go further than I am now. Oh, this is incredible. The 2 adults are killing. 3 adults are killing. It's a baby impala. But I have to call this in. Stations 3 adult wild dog, a junction, Gari Main, Cheetah Cut Line, eastern side of that junction. They've just killed a, looks like a baby impala. Animals are static feeding. Oh, this is fantastic. Isn't that amazing? Affirmative, I am live now, so I can't give more direction. They are on Gari Main, Junction, Cheetah Cut Line, static. So we can't, unfortunately, go further east than we are, and they are on the eastern side of the road, but this is unbelievable. Isn't this incredible? So they've just caught this thing right now. And this is a very kind of calm feeding that they're doing now. Unusually calm, and it's because it's a pack of only 3 adults. I don't know where the pups are, unless the pups have killed somewhere else. But they're making that twittering noise. There we go. Isn't that just amazing? We got here as they killed it, and they kill so fast. Probably now thinking about trying to carry them off to the pups. I just need to get my binoculars out so I can see if there are any pups here. These are just the adults. I'm pretty sure these are just the 3 adults from what is known as the Investec Pack. But where are the puppies? The puppies will have almost started to move now with the rest of the pack. The pups were born in June, which makes them 6 months old. Oh, this is just fantastic. Well spotted, Tibbs. Jenny M, absolutely. What a brilliant start to a day. How fantastic. And it almost feels sedate. You know, these dogs are not in that frenzy. I think it's because it's just the three of them. But where have they left the pups? So let's watch them here. With any luck, the pups, they've left just to the west of where we are now, and maybe they're still on Juma. Sorry, Tibbs, I can't. I'm already slightly trespassing, so I can't go any further than this. We're in a grey area, so I can't be in trouble, but I certainly can't go any further than I am now. Yeah, this is just amazing. Look at this. Yeah, now, Diana Ray, you're absolutely right. You say that the speed at which these wild dogs devour a kill reminds you of piranhas. It's very similar. They killed that thing just as we got here. And it's already pretty much finished. And that's only 3 dogs. Can you imagine a big pack? And this is what they do day after day, morning after morning. I'm just looking this way. Yes, and Shamrock, you're absolutely correct. Tebbs is a spotting superhero. He pulled off some amazing leopard spots 2 days ago, and that's not all. We are on a fairly main road, as you can see, and that'll be some guests going out to the airport or something like that. Just incredible stuff. You can see the telegraph poles. And they're looking around all the time, of course, because often a kill does have some noise associated with it, and that will attract the attentions of hyenas, which will come and steal from the wild dogs at every available opportunity. They seem to have got away with their kill. Now, for those of you who've seen these wild dogs for the first time, and I think there probably are 1 or 2 of you, this is Africa's second most endangered carnivore. The other is a very sort of nondescript small jackal that comes from the Ethiopian highlands. That's the most endangered. But this, to me, is the most magnificent animal we have here. This is Africa's wolf. It runs exactly the same as a wolf pack runs, with an alpha male and female that lead the pack. And they've got 11 pups. This is a very small pack, just 3 adults. And those 11 pups are just not quite old enough, obviously, to be hunting yet with the pack. They are moving with the pack, but they're certainly obviously not hunting at the moment. So what these 3 will do is devour this young impala. Then they will go and find the pups again, and they will regurgitate a lot of what they've eaten so that the pups can feed. They have a tremendously egalitarian society, which of course is very distinct from all the other predators in this area. Lions and hyenas will fight over their food. They will never share willingly, whereas wild dogs are completely different, and much like a wolf pack in that way. They might even think about killing again, you know, just because they've got all those hungry mouths to feed. Very, very lucky to have seen this. What a start to the morning. And it's incredible all around. I mean, obviously there's been tremendous trauma for that little impala. Well, it would have died almost instantaneously. But all around, but for this little patch of feeding painted wolves, there is complete calm. The birds are doing their normal morning chorus, and the world is continuing. I always find that slightly incongruous. You just have this tremendous drama of a kill, and yet all around the world is just continuing like it always has. Beautiful stuff. And if you are perhaps a sensitive viewer, oh dear, I think I turned my radio down. No, I didn't. If you are a sensitive viewer, I'm sorry about the gore, but that is, of course, just nature. And these are incredibly efficient hunters. And while often it does look like it's a bit gruesome with wild dogs, I think often, or most of the time, the animal goes into complete shock. And the prey animal goes into complete shock and doesn't actually feel a thing. And just on that sort of discussion of shock and how fast the animals kill, these dogs kill, you want to know, does it take an adult lion less or more time than a wild dog? Jenny, it really depends entirely on the size of the prey. And adult lions will take a while to kill, say, a big buffalo. And I think that's possibly, I think all animals go into shock when they're being killed. I think, though, that certainly lions will take a while to kill a buffalo, and these wild dogs would have killed the impala almost immediately. And I think there's very little pain felt because of the shock and the adrenaline. But certainly with lions and big prey items, it tends to take a bit longer. And although wild dogs look a bit more gruesome, it certainly isn't the case that they are more vicious or more unkind. That's Aubrey arriving. Ooh, look at that. Look at that. Thinking about going again. Gail in Rhode Island, you want to know if they will eat the bones like the hyena. Gail, they will, but just smaller bones. They won't eat bones nearly the same size as the hyena, because they can't, they don't have anything like the jaws that a hyena has. People, this might be the last we see of them, I'm afraid. But what a start it's been. I'm going to follow them along the road. Let me just see if they move or not. Disappearing into Torchwood. I'm afraid they're going straight east into Torchwood. So Aubrey can follow them because he's lucky that way. We cannot. The other one is still there. So we're going to drive along the cheetah cut line here and just see if the pups don't pop out. I see Brent Leo Smith is approaching. Of course, Brent Leo Smith and wild dogs are synonymous with great speed in the same way that the Monaco Grand Prix is synonymous with speed. So there's the last one there. The other two have headed off east, I'm afraid. But he's come down, Brent has come down this road. I'm assuming, unfortunately, that the pups have been left inside Torchwood as opposed to along here. And there they go. They look like they're going to hunt again. I can see two flashes of white tail going through there. And just because they've got all those hungry mouths to eat, I think they may try and kill again. I think we'll lurk around on...
Good morning, my name is Brent Leo Smith, and we're on Safari Live, and I'm a bit late to the party this morning. And the dogs you've seen with James have already made a kill. They're unfortunately now mobile away from our eastern boundary. You still got them, Andrew? No. And I think they're heading back towards the puppies. It might be worth patrolling up and down this road, the whole drive, just in case they reappear. But so exciting to find dogs first thing in the morning. I'm very jealous of James. I did do some low flying to get here as soon as possible, and all we managed to get was a brief view of the dog as it disappeared east. And there comes James. I can't see the dogs anymore. I don't know if James can.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Miserable pity.
Yes, very miserable pity. Oh, well done.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello everybody again. I think you just saw me from a different angle down there. We're going to keep on up here. I don't know where they left the pups. Probably back inside towards me, but they were heading this way. Maybe they'll come back.
Well, if there are any trucks between Central and here, I may have driven over them at high speed to get you. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I'll go that way then.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Okay. See you later.
Tebs,
Goodbye.
why are you looking like a gangster this morning? There we go. Tebs says gangster love. Generally, our cameramen wear buffs to avoid flies. At this time of the morning, there are no flies. Maybe it's the fact that it's quite chilly. Andrew was complaining profusely while I was doing some high-speed driving to get towards these wild dogs. Andrew even said I should put on my big jacket, not just wear my little jersey, although this little jersey is very, very warm. But I might use my big jacket across my knees. So that is an incredible start to the morning. I think I'm going to go look for Karula now. The likelihood of her being on the kill is almost zero. Don't think there was much food left there. I have a sneaking suspicion she went towards the treehouse waterhole to quench her thirst after filling her belly with steenbok. Of course, I shall be driving at a speed that is, I'm able to see tracks now, not racing like Lewis Hamilton through the bush. Very good morning to the family Steinberg in New Jersey. They would like to know why we are not allowed to follow those dogs further to the east. So, where we are in the Sabi-San Game Reserve, it is private property, and the reason we cannot continue on is because we do not have a traverse agreement with that property, and it is private land, and discretion is at the landowner. So, for whatever reason it may be, we cannot go there. Of course, we would love to go there, but we can't. It is private property. And if we crossed that boundary, it would be the same as if some naughty person decided to climb into your backyard and swim in your swimming pool without permission. So the wonderful thing is that these boundaries, although as humans we have to stop, the animals have this 8 million hectare wonderland that they are able to, traverse through, and they have no understanding of human boundaries. Unfortunately, we do have to adhere to them though. New viewer from this morning, whose name is J-Rad Mazzola, and he says, is this really live? Well, J-Rad, I'm answering you, so yes it is. And this is a live African safari. If there are any other new viewers who are joining for the first time with J-Rad, and we are in search of all sorts of wonderful African wildlife. We have a big aerial behind us that enables us to send a signal to something else that sends a signal to you. Of course, I little of odd leopard or two. Certain areas have some signal gremlins, so when we dip through our signal appears. I have no idea how if the vehicle sends it to another aerial, a satellite dish that sends it, I think, to Dubai, which then sends it to the US, something like that. I don't know about how those things work. I just concentrate on finding animals. So there are some of the wild dogs' favorite foods. Quite lucky the wild dogs didn't get this far this morning. Little impala, group of impala rams. So you've enjoyed a splendid start to the sunrise safari with James and those wild dogs feeding off an impala lamb. Thelma, who's in the Great Lakes districts of Michigan, is wondering what happens if the alpha female dies, because there are only 3 adults in that pack. Will they take another alpha from within the pack, or do they go looking for another pack? Well, Thelma, it's a very interesting pack, and they exhibit some behavior that is not commonly seen in wild dogs, being such a small pack and doing such a good job raising 11 children at the same time. By this time, normally they would have lost, most wild dog packs would have lost a lot more. So, and from the adults, there are 2 males and 1 female. So if the alpha female died, I'm afraid to say it would probably be the end of the pack. So how wild dogs form new packs or create new genetic lines is you have a dispersal. Normally, in about 70% of the cases, the dispersal animals will be female, and they will normally leave in groups of 2. Occasionally you do have dispersal males as well, and they would then, the females would then normally join another pack like this, and then take the next spot, because wild dogs, specifically in this area, are not very long lived. Your average adult dog lives for no longer than about 5 or 6 years. But so if the alpha female did die, it would be actually a very, very, very big problem for this pack, and the likelihood of survival would decrease significantly. Okay, so we're getting close to the treehouse waterhole. I'm starting to look very carefully for tracks of Queen Karula. We will go check where she had the kill, although I'm 90% sure she's not going to be there. So it seems like it's a morning for new viewers, or maybe viewers that are new to asking questions. So good morning to Wolf Kissed Chick. She would like to know whether we see striped hyena often. Not at all, I'm afraid. Striped hyena do not occur in southern Africa. We have two species of hyena that do occur in southern Africa. It's a spotted hyena, which is our main hyena species in this area, and the brown hyena. So brown hyena in this area are very, very, very rare due to the fact that there's a very high population of spotties, or spotted hyena. Striped hyena, however, the furthest south they occur is the southern Serengeti in Tanzania, which is a good 1,000 kilometers plus, actually more, about 3,000 kilometers from where we are now. I have fortunately seen them in the bush in Tanzania. Striped hyena are quite a bit smaller than our hyena species and have slightly different sort of game plans. They are more individual foragers, whereas sometimes the spotted hyena will forage in groups. Now, I was half hoping to find Karula the queen just lounging around this area where there's some water. It does not look to be true, but we're going to go check for tracks. So this is the closest and only water in this area. And, oh, pygmy kingfisher, Andrew. You got it?
Negative.
Okay, see this little knobthorn?
Yeah.
Closest to us, there's a bright spot of colour on it. And that would be a pygmy kingfisher. You found it?
No.
Okay. So let's go to the base of the tree.
Yes.
Where all the warthogs have been rubbing the mud.
Yes.
Okay, so go up to the first fork.
Yes.
Take the left-hand fork. And go, oh, he's flying right back towards, right next to us. Oh, he's just drinking, and there he goes.
So small.
So small. And Andrew, so slow. Don't worry, when we're off air, I will get a nice whippy stick, probably from a round leaf teak, and beat Andrew for not being able to show you that pygmy kingfisher. So he has the only water in the area, and this water has been excavated by elephants. They have dug down below the water table and caused these little 2 holes to seep. And again, I do apologize for my cameraman being a bit slow this morning. Oh, Andrew. Tut, tut, tut. There is obviously, of course, the possibility that Queen Karula has decided to head towards Gallagher or Vuyatela, the Juma Lodges. Who's also a new viewer on Twitter, a very warm safari welcome, would like to know, what do we do when we need to use the bathroom on game drive? Well, we just jump out of the car and go have a tinkle against a tree. Unless, of course, your name is Andrew Francis and you're a cameraman who needs to tinkle about 25 times in 3 hours. And Andrew will never let me forget that the fact is occasionally we've made Andrew have what Andrew calls a danger pee. And that happens when we are in normally a big cat sighting and we can't leave in case those animals move, and we force the cameraman to pee off the back of the vehicle. Andrew, the first time I made Andrew do it, he complained incessantly. So literally he had no choice but to pee because he was going to burst. And that was with a male leopard called Tingana. And Andrew was worried that said male leopard had ideas on his manhood. Of course, when he did pee, the leopard did not even raise its head. It didn't, Andrew. Andrew likes to tell everyone it did. it didn't. But it's a good story, Andrew, don't worry. I'm sure the male leopard has far more pressing things to worry about than Andrew Francis's manhood. So we're chatting about hyena species a little bit earlier, and Shrub on Twitter would like to know what is the largest hyena species we get in Africa. Well, Shrub, it is the spotted hyena, by far the largest. The only other two hyena species are the striped and the brown. Both are quite a bit smaller and more retiring, and slightly and slightly less social, a different social structure than the spotted hyena. Okay, so no sign of Karula's tracks along here. So we will check her last position. As I said, there's a very, very small chance that she's actually there. More than likely, she has moved on since consuming her Christmas dinner. Carol on Twitter says, I must be careful, the cameramen have the ability to make me look very silly one day. Yes, but the cameramen know I will feed them to the lions if they do such a thing. But anyway, let's go see what Commander Bond is up to on the other vehicle.
We are just trying to find some kudu. Just off-road, there we go, there's a cow. There were three of them, but they are hiding from us, as you can see. This is how they survive, of course, is by remaining as hidden as possible. She looks like she's grazing now. Of course, a kudu is not supposed to graze at all. And she isn't eating grass. She's eating little sort of herbaceous forbs. And walking very daintily forward. Very dainty things are kudu. Roughly the size, I suppose, of a large reindeer, if I'm not mistaken. I think a reindeer is roughly the same size as a kudu, probably slightly smaller. Let's go back a little bit and see if we can't get a nice view of her. Very secretive, very shy. Stay hidden behind the bush. Doing it extremely well. Look at those ears, like little radar dishes. A little chew on some combretum, bush willow. And there was another two actually that were knocking about here. But the other two wanted to be on camera even less than this one does. There she goes, she's gone behind us. Alright, I think we're just about to arrive at Buffelshoek Dam. I'm still sort of on the eastern fringes here with my ear glued to the Game Drive channel, hoping that those dogs might come east. But as every minute passes, the likelihood of them coming this far with the pups again to this morning diminishes rather exponentially, I'm afraid. What a great start we had with them. I think the answer to your query is very simple. You want to know what could possibly top this after such an incredible start to the drive. Jenny, not much really. Wild dogs killing is pretty much the ultimate way to start, finish, and indeed middle the drive. So unless we find a pride of lions devouring a buffalo, or perhaps a leopard stalking a nyala, it's going to be very difficult to top what we saw just now. A very special experience that. And I mean, if we'd been 1 minute earlier, we would have seen them actually killing. Hello, Sean. You reckon that, or your question is, was there a reason that they would have left one adult feed slightly more than the others? No, Sean. I don't think they did that necessarily on purpose. I think, they would have torn that impala apart, and then, each would have gone off with his own bit, eaten that, and then they would have torn the remainder up. So I think it was really coincidence that one got the biggest piece to start with, and then they would have shared that as well. Although they did seem to leave a small bit of the sort of, I think probably the spinal column, they seem to leave a bit there. Right, we are arriving at Buffelshoek Dam, which of course is not a dam anymore. They've gone south now. So we confirm they've gone south to Cheetah Plains.
West of towards town. And it goes to there is some boundary.
They're still sort of going northwestish, so we're going to keep moving. There's nothing here at Buffelshoek Mud Wallow. The only sort of evidence of animals is a path cut by a hippo yesterday that we came past and saw. So I'm just going to keep going on to the northern boundary and then a little bit to the east, and maybe we'll get another glimpse of the dogs. I'm assuming from the reports on the radio and the fact that you're driving with me at the moment that Karula has moved, and I'm not surprised. I think by the end of the evening yesterday she'd had enough and she was going to move on. So full belly and very happy, no doubt. Siberia Zumi, you say you love kudu ears, and do I think that maybe they are used to pick up radio broadcasts or listen to rugby commentary or something like that? I'm sure they are. Enormous rugby fans, I've no doubt. I'm sure those ears are able to pick up all commentary in different languages. Rugby, for those of you in the northern hemisphere, North America, of course, is an enormous sport in South Africa. That's a greatly popular one. It might be the greatest sport in the world. Reports that they're coming this way. Copy that. Approaching right now from west. Just over here, they're coming this way. Sorry, all I can hear is the wind blowing there. I'm on my way to that junction. All I can hear is the wind blowing through his radio. I can't actually hear it. At the end there is where we're going. I'm just trying to follow what's going on the radio. Waterbuck, we'll come back to them now. Snake track. To the top of this road is our boundary. Chimps, keep them eyes peeled. Sorry about the bumping, everyone. Huge snake track going across the road there. Another one. That's 3 or 4 in the last few meters. A great herd of snakes. There's Aubrey. I think he's looking for their tracks. I must have been heading this way, everyone. This is very exciting. Heading this way. I'm just going to follow Aubrey because he's obviously got a tracker on the front of the vehicle, which means that they can spot the tracks much more easily. It says they were heading this way. Okay. All right. Impala. The driver got songa. So Aubrey can drive in here. We're on Torchwood boundary again. So he's going to just carry. They were coming this way, and he's checked the northern boundary. They haven't crossed. He's now going to drive along that fire break, and we'll just check if they don't cross. And we'll just keep an eye on that. Looks like 2 buffalo up ahead. They are much too large for the wild dogs to try and take. We're going to drive very slowly along here. Just watch into the bush to see if those great big dish-like ears, lovely white flashing tails come running out or not. Keep an eye behind us. Of course, you can also see this presenter monitor here, which sometimes when I've been driving a normal car, I look at thinking it's like a rear view mirror, and suddenly I see myself. Just look in there. Hello, Alyssa and Meza. I think that's where you come from. You want to know about, if I stop answering your questions just simply because I'm looking for the dogs. Alyssa, you want to know about guiding. You say you're doing a field guides course and by correspondence, and you think you want to know if it's a problem that you don't live in Africa. I don't know if you're doing it. Are you doing an African animal field guide course? If you are, I don't think it's a problem at all with it, whether you do it anywhere in the world. Certainly if you want to ever use it or apply it, you're going to have to do it over here. But there's no reason you shouldn't learn to do it anywhere. And, sorry, I'm just listening to the radio.
What's the cost after this, madam?
Just keep looking behind us.
I think
I think they're still in there, everyone. Of course, they could have crossed, so we'll just keep an eye on both sides of the road. What can you see, Ted?
Give me an idea. Should I go that way or should I go round the dam, do you think?
So let's just keep an eye on both sides of the road. They could easily have crossed. change direction on a constant basis. So Alyssa, I think carry on. Wonderful idea that you're doing a field guides course, and yes, you can certainly apply it to your local area. You can apply it to African areas, and if you're ever planning on coming and guiding out here, that's also possible, of course. Lots and lots of foreigners, or people not from South Africa, do guide in South Africa and all over Africa. Look in there, Tiff. Quickly look in there. Camera.
Morning stations. Can I get an update, please?
Let's just sit here for a little while and try and listen to what's going on.
Okay, Nima Dutch, they weren't compliant. They're now on last resort in Scandinavia. So should I be given will be a
Can't see you here now. And you can hear the radio is going crazy at the moment.
Standing by. Good morning, I believe you had a
Looking up and down.
encounter and 5 this morning around your...
I'm going to switch off here and we're going to have a listen. Let's see what's going on. Just see if we can't hear some impala alarm calling. We might drive back up the north to the north. There's certainly no sign of them here. Can't hear anything, and that's not unusual. Often what happens with these wild dogs, when they're chasing something, and the animals don't alarm call, they just run. And it's completely unlike if they see a leopard or a lion or something, they will alarm call, and it just doesn't happen here. They just run at high speed. I'm just listening to the radio. All right, let's head back up this way. Let's head across to Brent, see what he's got at the moment. We'll keep driving up and down here and we'll see what we can find.
So we've checked the last position of Karula, and unfortunately she is not there. There is a little bit of meat left. I'm just doing a quick loop around the block that she was in, seeing if I can find any tracks. So I'm going very slowly, and at the moment so far only hyena and kudu tracks on the road.
Copy.
So now that she's finished that little Steenbok, it's a bit of a guessing game. I was hoping she had gone towards the water at Treehouse. She hadn't. Well, no tracks at least. We all know Karula can fly, because she is the queen of Juma and also the queen of the Disappearing Act. That's hence the reason I'm moving at snail's pace and checking very, very carefully for tracks. Andrew has pointed out 3 different sets of hyena tracks, going, leopard track. No, Andrew, those are hyena. But jokes aside, fortunately, the majority of our cameramen, after spending so much time with us, can actually tell a leopard track from a hyena track. One would hope so. The fact that we spend 6 hours a day out in the bush looking for tracks, mostly. Definitely far more looking for tracks than actual animals. But finding the tracks often leads to finding the animal. Oh, Marilyn, who's in sunny California, hopefully a bit more sunny than we are, says it seems to her that Andrew and Ted spotted the animals far before the presenters. Oh, Marilyn. Well, no, put that thumb down, Andrew. In a lot of cases, one must remember the cameramen are much higher than we are, so they have an elevated position. But I will admit, this week, Tebs has spotted lots. Andrew, I don't think spotted anything. Andrew.
Few leopards, few wild dogs.
Oh, no, he's claiming. I actually have a little wager with most cameramen, and they get a little reward if they spot something before me. And I can definitely say on average I spot before the cameramen do. Andrew, I'm waiting for a rebuttal there.
That's not true.
Oh, and he lies through his teeth. So if the cameraman managed to spot a leopard before, or a lion before me, or a wild dog, they do get a little reward. The reward is I don't beat them senseless after drive. No, I'm only joking. They get a liquid reward from me. Andrew? What have I spotted? It could have been one of a few things. It could have been a white bird that just jumped through my field of vision. It could also, what I think most likely is a little flick of an impala's tail on the white I saw, but it's worth checking because it could also just be that white tip to a leopard's tail. I saw the movement of an animal. As I said, most likely it was the flick of an impala's tail, but I can't see. I just saw movement through there. Chances are always worth following up on. Andrew, are you looking now? I did see something move through here. I wouldn't be driving this far off the road through this very bumpy country. Seen an impala yet actually makes me slightly more excited. Something moved just through this area here. There we go. What's that running there? That was not what I saw. There was a warthog that just disappeared in front of me. Warthog do not have white on them. Could even have been a little flick of a steenbok's tail. Andrew's got an excellent idea. I think, okay, Valerie, let's take you up on it right now. Come, Andrew. So Valerie thinks the camera operators and presenters should swap. So Andrew, off you go. Should we swap?
Negative, that's right.
Valerie, you have now put the cameraman in an absolute panic. He's gone bright red and his legs are shaking. He does not want to get in front of the camera. I'm offering. Andrew, please.
No.
Yes, Andrew, you also used to be a field guide.
I'm nervous now.
Andrew really doesn't want to get behind his camera. But I think that's an excellent idea, Valerie, that we should swap. See, the funny difference is that I also am a cameraman, and I've worked as a cameraman before, and whether it's our cameramen haven't presented too much, apart from when we force them to, like right now. Come, Andrew, let's go. Just go say hello to Valerie, Andrew. Off you go. Take your earmuffs off.
No.
So, there we go. That's Andrew's answer to presenting. So, Valerie, I did try, but no, Andrew has hidden himself behind a buff. Oh. Our cameramen are very special, but there's a reason we keep them behind the camera, as you saw. So unfortunately, I'm pretty sure, I think there was a little flick of a Steenbok's tail. The fact that we saw warthog here means it probably wasn't Queen Karula. Now, let's get ourselves back towards the road. But Valerie, don't worry. James and I will have a discussion on how we can make that happen. And if any two people can, I'm pretty sure it's James and myself. I definitely think when we go back to James, we should ask Valerie's question, encourage Valerie's question again, and see what Tebs does, whether he has the general standard cameraman response, which what you saw from Andrew. As soon as you try to put a camera near him, he tries to hide like a dwarf mongoose going down a barrow. Alyssa says she doesn't think Andrew trusts me with his camera. Well, unfortunately for Andrew, he doesn't actually have a choice in the matter. She also thinks Andrew is adorable. Andrew, how's this? This December, you have been called a cutie patootie and adorable. You must be feeling very special, Andrew. He did this behind the camera. A J has sent us an email. Is it true that the cameramen are only hired if they cannot outrun the presenters? No, it is not true, but generally cameramen are not the fittest creatures in the world. Apart from Jean-Andre, he's an exception to the rule. But again, he is quite slow. Actually, I don't think there's a cameraman that can outrun Scott, James, or myself. Andrew thinks he can, he's pointing at himself. But after gracing the touch rugby field with Andrew a few times, I can, as much as Andrew will disagree, I can guarantee you he cannot outrun me. I know what to do, Andrew. Let's have a race. in front of camera where everyone can watch. The finish line will be the vehicle. We will start further on. Come, Andrew. And I'll keep my radio on and I'm going to take my shoes off if we're racing. So, and we've even got a perfect track here. We've got 2 tracks. Andrew's setting up the shot. How far should it be from Andrew?
As far as you like, Brent. I got this one in the bag.
Andrew says he's got this one in the bag. I doubt it. Look at it warming up. Okay. Let's see. Put the mic in my top pocket, otherwise it's going to fall down. There we go. Right, let's go a little further. I don't have enough time to build up speed. So hopefully you are still getting audio because I do have a little power mic. Let me stretch. Are you ready, Andrew? Let me clip all my cables. So Louise in final control is going to count us down. Okay, take your marks, Andrew.
And go!
Oh, there goes my radio. There we go. Point proven. Andrew Francis is not faster than I am.
Your shoes are off, though.
Oh, no, I see the excuses already flowing. Put my shoes back on. Well, you can't run in sandals now, I mean, honestly. Okay. Well, at least that argument is settled. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lion around, because one of the most important rules in the bush is don't run. But we did do it in a nice open area. I think maybe this afternoon we should test this theory further and get James and Tebs in on the race action. A big thank you to Valerie, and she's thanking us, we're thanking you. Valerie, you gave us an opportunity to do some exercise while on game drive. So a big thank you to you, and Valerie says we've made her night. Well, Valerie, you've made our morning. So, no tracks of the Queen so far. Shamrock said our incredible speed has woken, well, I made that one up, but Shamrock says we've woken the dogs up. I know it's because I was like a lightning bolt going past Andrew Francis. Jimmy just said it again, going past Andrew Francis. I think next thing we'll have to do is an arm wrestle.
Oh.
Apparently a buffalo ran across the road behind, I would believe, but there were no tracks. So let's go have a look what James is up to. We're going to keep circling this block that Karula was in, but James has got a relatively smelly antelope.
I'm guessing that if Karula is anywhere near the antics going on that vehicle, she's either rolling about the floor laughing or has decided to depart the area at a great speed. Because that sounds like loony bin stuff going on there. Wonderful. Brilliant. Here we are with some waterbuck, a large group of cows, and still in the vicinity where we saw the wild dogs earlier, and hoping maybe that they'll come back. But in the meantime, it's not looking good, to be honest. I think they've probably gone to ground, killed something with the pups, and I think they're now relaxing inside Torchwood in the shelter or lee of a nice thicket, because it is pretty chilly out here and the wind is quite strong. So that's beautiful waterbuck cows, and as Brent says, they are quite smelly. They smell of sort of musk, like a very strong smelling horse, if you like. just chewing their cud. Now, they're called waterbuck because they're supposed to be running into water when they get terrified of things. And these ones, well, you know, I've actually never seen them do that. So, and I've very seldom actually seen them around water at Djuma. So I'm not convinced how necessary water, other than for drinking, is for waterbuck. But certainly those furry coats would indicate that they need to stay warm more than most. But I can't imagine why that would be the case. They're quite mysterious in that way. And there you can see two things. Firstly, why they've got that white marking on the backside. Obviously, a nice, easy way for them to follow each other through the bush. And secondly, how brilliantly camouflaged they are. That grey colour, if you want to really hide out here, that grey colour is a brilliant colour to be. Right. We are going to do one last foray up the cheetah cut line, up our eastern boundary, and see if the dogs haven't perhaps come across. Until then, thereafter, I think we'll head to the hyena den and see what's going on. I don't think I'm going to race Tebs up the road. Julia Smith, you say yesterday Teb spotted a moving white shell, and I never confirmed what it was. It was a tortoise, and it looked white because of the way the light was shining on it. So it was very kind of shiny, but it was a living leopard tortoise. And when we got up close, we realised it wasn't white. It was quite a pale one, but it certainly wasn't white. That's what it was. Teb's spotting scopes have been working overtime of late, seeing amazing things. So this is where we spotted them early this morning. That's where they ate the first impala, and they went trotting off to the east there, into the middle of the picture, and then up north they found the puppies apparently, and then they were running up and down, and they regurgitated a whole lot of food for them. This is what we heard from the other people who were in the sighting. And then they started moving towards this way, and they haven't come across the cut line again yet. So we'll do one last drive up here, and that will be it, I'm afraid. But a wonderful experience we've had with them already. Just drive very slowly, see if the tracks don't come across, and see what else there is on this road here. Stop and have a listen every so often. There's an impala. Oh, she's on her own. I wonder if it isn't her that's just lost her baby little youngster. She does look fairly depressed and on her own. I say she looks depressed. You can't tell what an impala is feeling from its face because, of course, they don't have very expressive faces. They don't have anything like the muscles in their faces that we do. But odd that she's on her own. And if wild dogs have been through an area, what they will do is split up the herds completely. And so you find these odd situations where there's, one female on her own or one male on her own, or babies separated from mothers. I hope it's not her that's lost her baby. While we answer this very salient question from Cindy in Long Island, we'll just keep going up the road here slowly. Cindy, you want to know if animals out here ever mourn their dead? Yes, absolutely they do. We think that elephants mourn their dead, and you indicated that you thought they might. Yeah, we think they do. Obviously, we can't tell what senses of emotion that they are feeling. Is it sadness? Is it longing? What is it? But we know that elephants will come, and I've certainly seen it myself, where they will come towards the carcass of a fallen comrade, if you like, put the bones on their heads, and they'll return to the same place 2 or 3 times before moving off and leaving the bones to themselves. And, I mean, Some will tell you that that's just, that they pick things up anyway, and they pick up bones, and sometimes, it's just purely coincidental. And others will tell you that it definitely looks like mourning. To me, it looks like mourning. I think that the days of us saying that animals don't have emotion are thankfully coming to an end. I think it's patently obvious that they do feel something. Of course, the only way for us to describe what they're feeling is to use our own expressions of feeling. So, love or sadness or joy. I don't know. Do impala mourn their young? We don't know. We have no way of knowing. They don't make a wailing sound of sadness. Like I say, their faces are totally unexpressive. The only thing they can move are their ears. And so, they can't sort of smile or frown or look miserable or look happy. And so it's very difficult to tell whether they are, what they're feeling. Lions and leopards, we know when they're angry, certainly. That anger is very easy for them to show. And if you've got a dog or a cat at home, when they're angry, and they certainly, a dog can show joy. So yeah, I think they do show emotion. Do they mourn? Who knows? Probably. I suppose if you're a biologist, you need to ask yourself the question, what evolutionary advantage would there be to mourning? Charlotte, you're in Port Elizabeth. It's just near where my parents live. They live in Kenton, Charlotte. Hello and good morning to you. I hope you're enjoying the holiday season down there on the coast. Charlotte, you want to know whether how it's possible that these wild dogs transport the meat. Do they have an extra stomach and then for vomiting up to feed their pups? No, Charlotte, it's as you pointed out. Secondly, you said, do they just vomit on demand? That's precisely what they do. They vomit on demand. So when the cubs beg, they'll nip at the lips of the adults. Sorry, the pups, not the cubs. They'll nip at the lips of the adults, and the adults will then regurgitate food for them. That's quite an astonishing thing to be able to do. And just getting back to that thing, the discussion on emotion. In what way or what evolutionary advantage could there possibly be to mourning? Well, if we look at our own species, the evolutionary advantage, I suppose, to mourning would be a sense of need to protect and a sense of belonging. If you feel a sense of, or maybe a throwback to it, if you feel a sense of attachment to another person, you will help them and you will protect them. So maybe in species where there is that kind of egalitarian helping of one another, maybe mourning is a throwback to that. I don't know. It's certainly a fascinating subject and a very heated one. I often get very amused by the kind of definite answers that people give to what they think animals can and cannot do and can and cannot feel, when we have no idea really. We're really just guessing. So nothing else coming across this road at the moment. Whether or not those dogs are going to go to sleep up in Torture, I'm not sure. I think it's probably quite likely. A race between Brent and some wild dogs would be an interesting one. I think the dogs would win. Brent would probably tell you otherwise, but I think the dogs would probably win. Quite a chilly morning too, probably only about 20 degrees Celsius, I think, was the temperature, which is 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's quite chilly for this time of year. I'm not vaguely upset about it though, given that obviously it's been so very, very hot. Just walking past an anti-poaching unit here. On Twitter, you want to know if I would be able to beat Brent on a race. Just hold on here. Aye. Ja, mfokile kuna. Utibonile. Ti minkombe. Ja, kuna trailer. Mare one itsovekile. Ja. So inenge. Itsoveke inenge. Ja. Okay. Inkomo mifame kahle. That's the anti-poaching unit, and they're on foot, obviously patrolling. Highly necessary in any game area, of course, especially these days with the scourge of rhino poaching. The Sabi Sand seems mercifully to have got under control. So I was just getting a little update from them on their life, how it's going, and they say everything's okay, which is good. So back to would I beat Brent in a race? I've no doubt that Brent would answer that question with an absolute negative. There would be no chance on earth that I would beat Brent in a race. I'm not sure. When we used to play touch rugby, I used to manage to outstrip him. That was a little while ago. Whether my aging bones would still be able to do it, I'm not sure. Quite nervous that I'll see him again on drive. I think I'm going to have to try and avoid him because there's no way he'll let me get away with a comment like that. No, Louise, you will not be giving any of my GPS coordinates. Just telling Louise to maintain my private location. So Robbie, we're just chatting about that evolutionary advantage perhaps that there may or may not be to mourning, and I think it's probably got to do, if there is one, it's probably I use the term throwback, that's the wrong term. It's probably a kind of a result of group interactions and species that survive because they're in groups. Lots of the primates, elephants of course, will feel a sadness when a member of the group, or what we define as sadness, when a member of the group disappears, because they feel an attachment, they feel a kinship with other members of the group, and without that some kind of sense of attachment or love, the group wouldn't be as cohesive. And perhaps then the mourning, the sadness that goes with when a group member is no longer with the group, perhaps that mourning or sense of sadness is a byproduct of the sense of emotional attachment. So that's the only way I can think of it. It probably solidifies emotional bonds within a group and keeps the bond more solid. That's what I think. I might be completely wrong. It might have nothing to do with that at all. That would make sense to me. It's like the emotion of jealousy. We're talking about it as the emotion of jealousy is not just simply a random emotion. It's an emotion that comes about in animals where there is a fair amount of unfaithfulness. And so in human beings, while we are nominally monogamous, certainly we all know that there are philanderers of both men and women, and that the reaction of jealousy that we all feel is an evolutionary response to making sure that kind of philandering doesn't happen. Well, I mean, it does happen, of course, but it's a response to try and stop it happening too much. And I'm sure the same occurs in animals. Certainly it happens in the other primates. So lots of emotions have got evolutionary reasons and responses and needs for being. Fascinating discussion. Thank you, Randy. Right, we're giving up on the dogs. Let's go and have a look at the hyena den. So, another great question from Sharon. You were talking about play behavior in mammals and why they do it, and do you think they just do it for fun? I think that a baby impala plays because it feels fun to do that. The question is not so much do they do it for fun. I've no doubt they do it for fun. But why do they have that response? Why are they driven to play for fun? And they're driven to play for fun because that play behavior is extremely important in solidifying the neural pathways in their nervous systems. It's extremely important for developing coordination, developing muscle mass and muscle strength. Before we carry on with this, I just want to show you. As I was driving along this road at 100 miles an hour earlier on, I said there were some snake tracks. You can see them on the road there. See them there, Tibbs? There are the snake tracks. And this is a big snake. I would say from its sort of sluggish movement, it's probably a puff adder. But it is a puff adder it can move reticulated like that, sideways, and it can move sort of just inch along. So I'm not sure what that was, but it was a large snake, a fat one. It may have been a mamba, of course. They've gone into that termite mound. Mamba. Right, so the play behavior, and here it is again. It looks like it's come along here and moved back across the road. Big slung, that one. Maybe a python even. So, just to reiterate, so we've got, animals playing. You say, Sharon, you saw some adults joining in the fun. I've no doubt that's a throwback. It's the same as adults enjoy playing every so often. That's, it's good for us as adult human beings to play every so often to keep our joints loose and keep the muscles going. And I've no doubt the adults do the same. I think it's a throwback, of course, to being a child and being a young impala, and they are definitely doing it for fun. They are not thinking, I need to have a run around to keep fit and to keep strong, and the babies are certainly not thinking, I need to develop my neural pathways. They're just feeling the sense of joy. The question is, why are they feeling that sense of joy? What's driving them to do it? And that's an evolutionary response, I believe, to this need to, solidify the neural pathways and the muscles and that sort of thing. Wonderful. Thank you for your question, Sharon. Brilliant stuff. And of course, young human beings in Stone Ages or, way back, Dallas, just so that I get it right and I do it justice. I'm not entirely sure what you're getting at, but I really like the way you've put it. You say that the emotional bond between a mother and calf, or mother and lamb, mother and baby, is a reflection of the energy invested by the species or by the mother, and the loss is therefore reflected in emotion. I think that's quite a nice way of putting it. Thanks, Tom. I'm not sure I've got you exactly correct there, but really nice sentiment expressed. Thank you. I was just saying, with young human beings, these days, of course, we have to give them all sorts of toys to play with because they don't live outside and, have sticks to pick up and stones to throw and all sorts of other little natural things that they would have. So we buy them blocks to put together and then we have to make them crawl by certain months and then lie on their backs. These are all things that they would have done naturally in a sort of a Stone Age village, if you like. And and they still do in many areas where there is sort of, I don't want to use the term primitive, but certainly, you do get villages in Papua New Guinea and places like that, and some of the Bushman villages where scarcely come out of the Stone Age, and yet human beings are developing without all the sophisticated toys and pediatric guidelines. Somehow they manage to get along just fine. Right, let's head across to Brent Leo Smith. He has got a large animal to show you. I'm going to keep going this way. We'll head to the hyena den and I'll see you there.
We've got a wonderful Ellie bull who's busy destroying a red bush willow, and he's pushed it over and actually feeding on the roots. He's sniffing around at the moment at the base of the tree that he's pushed over. It looks like he's almost fed on the majority of what he wants to feed on, and he's being very picky. And he is on 5 legs. Oh, yes, you're very scary. Isn't that funny? Big Eddie Bull, what is he doing? Just looks like he's in a good mood. He's only got 1 tusk. And as Eddie Bulls go, I mean, he's definitely an adult, so over 30. Oh, look at that strength. But he's not the biggest bodied bull we get around here, but definitely an adult. Look at that, he's just putting that silver cluster leaf into his mouth. And normally at this time of the year, Eddies would be almost solely feeding on grasses, but there isn't any grass due to the drought. So they're going to feed a lot more on different tree species, feeding on that nutrient-rich cambium layer. And the tree that's been pushed down, a red bush willow, isn't an elephant's favorite food by any means. And neither is a silver cluster leaf. But in these times, and we're going to notice a lot more feeding on trees and tree species that an elephant wouldn't choose to feed on quite often. Hello, big boy. So Jugger Knock would like to know what animal lives to be the oldest. Out of the mammals, it's probably the elephant. It can live to about 60 years old, 65 at a push. And from the birds, probably the ground hornbill. And obviously with the reptiles, it's between the crocodile and tortoise. Probably the crocodile, it can live to be over 100. Guys, there's a vehicle on the way, so I'm just have to have a quick morning chat.
Bernie, coming, Bernie.
So he's going to move off. Unfortunately, he is south of our boundary, so we're not going to be able to follow him. But we're going to continue on. Morning, 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 morning. How's everyone doing? Oh, very well. Any updates from your side?
All in the east for us out there.
Tristan, your beard's looking quite luscious. Let's have a look at Tristan's luscious beard. Look, and Tristan's starting to blush at the moment. And well, Karula had a kill here. She might have crossed this way. I've been checking for tracks now. I haven't seen anything.
I didn't see anything in Triple M or coming this way.
And then the Madash were on Gowrie Main, Cheetah Cut Line Junction this morning, but then they went back east into Torchwood.
Okay, well, cool. I'll go and have a look when it comes out. Well, yeah, the Brummies are 2 of them at Impala and 1 at Triple.
Yeah, and 1 into Cheetah Plains.
Yeah.
And 1 missing.
And Impalas on the nets.
I haven't seen Nkomo Lions for so long, I don't think they're alive anymore. Cool, enjoy. Cheers, enjoy guys, have a good morning.
I'll see you later, man.
Yeah. Nothing. Cool. Cheers. So Tristan from Sibambili, a good friend of mine. He's got such a luscious beard at the moment. I missed my luscious beard. James was so mean about my attempt at growing facial hair. I had to cut it all off. So no tracks of Karula coming out of that block. Well, thank you very much, Pamela. Pamela says, I look very handsome, clean shaven. Well, thank you very much, Pamela. So there's no tracks of Karula coming out across our boundary. So there's a very strong possibility she's still somewhere within Juma. Sorry, I thought I heard a squirrel alarm calling. Now I decided to keep silent. Let's go we're very close to where she had that kill. And as I said, there was a tiny bit of meat left. The legs of the steenbok. So there is a very small possibility she might go back there. So we're talking about the longevity of different animals in Siberia. Don't some parrots live to be quite old? Yes, but in this area, the brown-headed parrot, I don't think lives as long as the ground hornbill. Could you guys check that for me? So could you guys maybe Google, see how long does a brown-headed parrot live for? I'm not 100% sure, and if you do find the answer to how long a brown-headed parrot lives for, send the answers via email through to questions@wildearth.tv, or if you're on Twitter, just #SafariLive. So we're going to go back and have a look at the remnants of that carcass. There is, as I said, Andrew, time to put you on the. You got it? The golden-breasted bunting. We saw a cinnamon-breasted bunting yesterday. And there we go, an incredibly beautiful little bird with that very, very prominent gold breast. Hopefully it pops out into the open. Should I go back a little bit, Andrew? Oh no, it's going to come out. Here we go. Golden-breasted bunting for those on the bird list. I know James has seen recently, and you can see how this bird got its name off it flies. That incredibly bright and prominent gold breast. Nice camera work, Andrew. At least your camera works better than your sprinting. So there's another one for those keeping bird lists. I think we have seen one before, but you might have missed it. You might have had to be working. big Safari Live welcome to John, who's a new viewer from Pennsylvania. And John said, Madash, is that guide speak for wild dog? It is. It's actually a nickname for wild dogs, because the correct name for wild dogs is Mashoa. Mashoa. How many of you can say that? But Madash is a nickname for wild dog. I'm not 100% sure of its origins. Maybe James might know the origins of Madash. I don't. And if James doesn't know and I don't know, we'll ask around to see if we can find out. So, I know the name of wild dogs in a few different African languages. So Mashoa is Zulu and Xhosa and Shangaan. And then we have Swahili, which was also my nickname when I lived in Tanzania, is Mbwamwitu, which translated basically means dog of the bush. Mbwamwitu, Mbwa is a dog, Mwitu is the bush or trees, so dog of the trees or dog of the bush. And in Setswana, it is Matalirwa. So we're back where Karula has been spending her time. I said there's a very, very small chance she's going to be back here. I did see just a few little steenbok legs. In the tree. Ooh. So a big thank you to Lisa, Joe, Elaine, and many, many others who sent through the lifespan of a brown-headed parrot and lived to about 30 years. So that is about 20 years shy of a ground hornbill. Ground hornbills can live for about up to 50 years. And there we can see there's one little steenbok leg left. As I said, there's a very small chance she might come back for that, but there's not too much nutrients in that. And if she hasn't returned by the end of the morning safari, I shall climb the tree on the sunset safari to see how much is actually left up there. We are looking carefully. She could be lying close by. This is the second time we've come to check here. So I feel we should have spotted her in two roundabouts around here, but you never know. Leopard is the best at camouflage. So we're going to keep looking for Queen Karula. While we do that, James is about to arrive at a firm favorite of many of our viewers. So let's go see what that is.
Not quite arriving just yet. The hyena den's just down here, but we stopped here because there was some sort of noises, which of course the hyenas making a noise. I think they're at the den, so let's go quickly there and see what's going on. Angry. It sounds sort of playful, but of course, as we've seen over the last little while, a huge amount of sort of reaffirming of the hierarchy all the time. So we're getting there right now. Jigger was not very quiet on the approach. There are 3 adults here. There is Corky, another adult, and then another one on top there. Ooh, a little one coming out here. You can hear the little ones shouting. Can't see any of them. Well, November is just behind there. Hello, Corky. I'm just trying to smell her. Because normally a hyena standing this close smells dreadful. Now, this isn't Corky, you know. I don't think. Corky's on the mound there. This is another adult. She's just 2 feet from us. There, I got a smell from her. Oh, she's injured. You can see she's got quite a nasty injury. I don't know who that is. Unless it's May's mother. Here's May. And there's a little one, D1 or D2, sticking her head out of the den. That's nice. There is a Corky having a wee. Urine dribbling into the den site, and she's now going to sit in her own urine. That is delightful. Lie in it, not sit. They don't do themselves any favours, these hyenas, when they do things like that, do they? Normally, I thought they did that when it was hot. I've never heard that sound before. Something's going on here. It's like a growl. Tibbs has got his telescope eyes trained in the bush behind us as well. This is fascinating. I don't know what's going on here. Thank you, Emily Moon on Twitter. You say that I'm the hyena whisperer. I don't think that's the case so much as I just really enjoy coming and watching what's going on here. She's definitely spotted something, this hyena. Now, the one that came just 2 feet from the car is now kind of flanked around to the back. Very fat, has definitely eaten. Ooh, now there's a strong smell. There's a little one come out. Look. It's one of the twins. One of D1 or D2. Look. That's the first time I've seen it go that far from the mum. I think it's gone. Tibbs, can you still see it there? Yeah. Go back into the hole. Mm-hmm. Here comes May. Well, absolutely, Margaret. I cannot agree with you more. No wonder hyenas stink. Yeah, no, I mean, that was quite a display she put on for us. Just to reiterate, if you are perhaps watching for the first time, we've given them names according to when they were born, not the adults, because we don't know when they were born. So that's why this little fluffy thing here is called May. She was born in May. So Jenny M, like I said, you know, you wanted to know what the noise was before we got here. What on earth was that kind of whooping and squealing? I think it's these not territorial but hierarchical bonds being reiterated and re-established and reaffirmed. Hyenas, I mean, when there are lots of adults around this den, there is conflict. There's always some kind of conflict, and it's just reaffirming the hierarchical bonds. This hierarchy is so strictly enforced in a hyena clan, and I think what you'll find is there was just somebody who was being put in their place. Possibly that adult who was here. I mean, this adult who's just left now, of course, had a nasty gash in her right back leg. I mean, it was superficial, but it was quite nasty. I'm astounded that May can still fit completely into that hole. And just, I don't know if you can hear, but there's a wonderful call of one of my favourite bird calls, because it reminds me of the Christmas holidays always, of the southern boo-boo going. Did you smell that, Tibbs? And put you off your breakfast. It's quite a sort of strong, sweet, deathish type scent. Not a very pleasant one. What I'm going to suggest we do is just drive around the other side there. I don't know that November hasn't come out to suckle on top of the mound. I'm also pretty sure that this tunnel is a tunnel that goes through the bottom of the termite mound. I think the little one rushed up and then went straight down in again, and it may well pop out there. Fascinating. I tell you, come here and you see something new every time. It's the aerial there too. Arizona, and we've been having a bit of a theme about play behavior and that sort of thing, and you want to know which of the animals will likely play with each other. The young animals, all young animals will play. Even leopard cubs, even if they're born on their own, will have to play with their mothers, and their mothers, rather like with humans, will have to play with them. If they have siblings, they'll play with their siblings. So all animals do it, and all animals need to do it. I think this is the one that we've sort of called Pretty, and her daughter is November. So Desiree, nice, I love this, you see, when you guys come up with theories and try and explain this odd behaviours that we see here. You say it's not hot, of course, and Corky is laying down in a great puddle of her own urine. Do you think maybe she's trying to make herself feel smell stronger for dominance? Desiree, I think that's certainly possible. I don't see why that wouldn't be possible. Maybe she's trying to smell stronger so that there's no kind of... I've lost my train of thought entirely there because I decided I was going to talk rubbish. I was thinking of a human being who covers himself in dung when he's hunting, you know, so that he doesn't smell like human being. But of course she will smell even more like hyena now, covered in her own urine. Yeah, maybe it is a dominance thing. It could well be. It's certainly very odd that she should choose to do it, though. And you can see, I don't know how many of you were watching yesterday afternoon when we were watching the leopard, and how fastidious Karula was cleaning herself. How she really maintained that perfect kind of regality that she's got, and I don't know if that's a word, regalness. But these hyenas, of course, don't have the same need to feel clean. Yes. Well, Juggernock, as you've asked very saliently, why do they bother cleaning themselves at all if they're just going to lie in their own filth? You see, they don't do a lot of cleaning of themselves. Sometimes they do a bit, but yeah, they're very happy to remain dirty, which cats are generally not. Even lions will, despite the fact that they're quite possibly the laziest animals next to the koala bear and the sloth. They are quite prepared to clean themselves after they've been at a kill for a while. You'll see them licking their paws just like a house cat will, and then rubbing the blood and viscera off their faces, whereas hyenas just don't seem to feel the same need for cleanliness. And I suspect that's not a vanity thing, of course. It's got a lot to do probably with the fact that hyenas have developed constitutions, a bit like Brent Smith's, where they can deal with sort of a greater disease or bacteria load than can some of the other animals. And that's why animals clean themselves. Same reason we clean ourselves, to keep sort of free of disease. And I think you'll find the immune system of hyenas is just astonishingly powerful, given what they're prepared to eat, and given that they don't need necessarily to clean themselves. So, Michael, on YouTube, you bring up a very interesting point. You say that humans are the only mammals that are put off by their own scent, that are repelled by their own scent. It's an interesting one, Michael. I think you probably have a point there, in that we are probably, since the advent of soaps and that sort of thing, and colognes and scents and various perfumes, we have become desensitized to the actual human scent. And certainly if we smell somebody now who's run a long way and not bothered to have a shower, we're extremely put off by that smell. I think that's almost been socialized into us over the years, because we're so used to smelling clean, fresh human being as opposed to a sweaty human being. And I'm sure in our distant past that wasn't the case, but it's an interesting one, Michael. I also think that that disguises often the scent of people, and our noses are a lot more sensitive than we give them credit for. And the smell that we get from other people tells us a lot about them, and it tells us a lot about their disease susceptibility, their parasite loads, and those sorts of things, which is a very complicated discussion, but it is quite interesting. And I think the amount of perfume and soap and that sort of stuff that we use definitely takes away from our ability to interpret those signals that our natural body scent would be giving to each other. Great one. Thank you, Michael. Let's head across to Brent Smith. He is with some giraffe. I'm not sure where. I'm going to try and stay away from him in case we have to race. And we'll see you just now.
So on this cold, windy morning, we found a little baby giraffe who's decided it's far too cold to be wandering about and sitting down chewing the cud. Mom's not too far away, and Mom actually looks like Mom spotted something. So giraffes are very good at spotting predators, and she's staring intently into the bush there. So let's have a quick look at what she might be staring at. Hopefully it's the Queen of Juma. Was she just also ruminating? Maybe she's not staring too intently. Also ruminating. You can actually see the bolus in her mouth. So she has brought that vegetable matter out from her stomach and re-chewing it to get the maximum amount of nutrients from it. A couple of oxpeckers in tow. This particular female's got such nice colouring, very sort of orangey giraffe. So she's heading back towards, no, not quite. She might be going to find some food. No, she is looking at something, Andrew. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's go have a look. She keeps looking in this general area, and we're still on the hunt for Madam Karula. And no sign of her at the treehouse waterhole. So I thought maybe if she wasn't going back for that little bit of steenbok, she might move towards the Gallagher waterhole. So the giraffe is looking here. There's also a possibility she's staring at an impala or another giraffe. But still, always worth checking these tiny clues that the bush gives us. I hope your eyes are peeled and you're checking carefully. Can't see anything just yet. I can hear Cokie Franklin. And just double check if there's any tracks going over here. There are not. Let's check the western edge. There's a little two-track, a little tiny But I heard a cesticular, which is a little bird's alarm call. High pitched trrrt. Sounding too stressed. Andrew, I thought you spotted more leopard than me. Come, spot a leopard. See, well, fortunately, since Andrew opened his mouth, we can now actually put some pressure on him. So while we search for the elusive prince of predators, let's go back to James, who's still at the hyena den.
So we're just sitting here patiently seeing what's happening, and after the great herring around this morning after those dogs, it's quite nice to have a bit of peace. The morning is starting to warm up slightly, and I suspect that this sun, this very strong summer sun that we've had, is going to burn these clouds off by the time 10 o'clock comes along. And Pretty is fast asleep there. Very peaceful, isn't she? The cubs have quieted completely. Safari Dean, you were asking about dens, and do other predators use dens? Yes, they do, absolutely. So from the smallest, I would suppose the most obvious would be a jackal, a black-backed jackal or a side-striped jackal. They use dens, normally holes in the ground, sort of almost like a burrow, but they also would probably be in a subterranean termite mound. And so, yes, jackals do that. Wild dogs, of course, use dens exactly like hyenas in termite mounds like this, excavated out. Their pups are a lot more altricial or less developed than the hyena cubs, and so the adults will have to modify the den for them until they're old enough to do it themselves, which will be in, probably after 2 or 3 weeks. Then leopards and lions, they do have a den, but not in a termite mound like this, not in a hole. It's normally they'll find some kind of a rocky cave or something like that where they can give birth. And that's obviously, those spaces are at a premium around here. Not a lot of rocky caves and that sort of thing. I suppose a really enormous termite mound with a massive entrance might allow a leopard or a lion to give birth in it. But remember that unlike the hyenas here, which will lie at the entrance and then the cubs will come out and suckle, the baby lions and leopards are so helpless when they're born that the adults have to be able to get to them. So they can't put them into an area that they cannot get into. And so that's why they tend to use those sort of cave or rocky outcrop areas where they can stash the babies away and then get in there when they need to. Very risky time, of course, for all predators being newly born, and especially the altricial sort of cats, or any of the cats, in fact. They're all born extremely altricial. And altricial is the opposite of precocial. We often talk about children as being precocious, which just basically means sort of older than their years almost, developed very quickly. So we describe an impala baby which is born able to run almost immediately as precocial, and then a baby like a puppy or a lion cub will be described as altricial, born blind, no teeth, and unable to kind of do anything without their mother's help. Okay, I think let's press on from the hyena den. Not much going on here, and that's pretty normal this time of year. I think, at least this time of day. I think we were probably 20 minutes too late. It's interesting to me also how the clan kind of disperses during the day. And they'll all be lying around here somewhere. Very nice thought from T8 on Twitter. Very interesting. You say that urine, of course, is pretty sterile, and you can use it as a disinfectant sometimes. And maybe that's why she's lying in the urine. It's a very good thought. Maybe, yeah. There's so much bacteria all over her body from the what they kill and where they lie and that sort of thing. And maybe that urine is a kind of disinfectant. Very interesting thought. True heads, everybody. Duck down. Question. Marilyn, you're in California, and you're saying, are humans the only animals that establish a kind of toilet or latrine area away from the home? I'm trying to think. Hyenas certainly don't defecate around here. There's not a lot of hyena dung around here. I think that may well be, rather than a function of it sort of being unpleasant, which is why humans keep their lavatories away from the sort of living area, is I think they use it a lot to mark territory, and I suspect that's why they don't defecate too much around the den. It probably also would attract other hyenas, maybe. So hyenas definitely, they're not defecating around this den. I'm just trying to think. Very few other animals, of course, live anywhere near, live in one place. They all move around quite a lot. Baboons, for example, are completely unlike human beings. Baboons are quite possibly the most disgusting animals in the world when it comes to that sort of thing. They will sleep in a tree, and they will make a very foul mess while they're sleeping, all over each other, all over the tree, all under the tree. they're very happy to go to the loo all over the place. So they definitely don't have the same habits as us. Chimps and the gorillas, I don't know what they do. Very interesting question. I suppose the main reason that humans do it is for health reasons. And I think that's why, smell, I think, is often an indication. Our interpretation of a bad smell is an interpretation that says that could be healthy, that could make me sick, so I'm going to stay away from it. Which is why, something like a lion or a leopard or a hyena will quite happily go to a carcass that smells to us disgusting, because we know that it would make us sick to ingest something like that. Whereas with a lion and a leopard, it's not the case. And so it doesn't smell bad to them. Dean has hit on something else interesting. We were chatting about human scent and the fact that human beings don't tend to like human being scent. And you say you disagree, Safari Dean. It depends on what pheromones are being given. Absolutely it does. And those pheromones are interpreted by our noses, and those pheromones indicate disease and parasite resistance to each other completely subconsciously. We don't know what we're actually interpreting as pleasant or unpleasant when we smell other people. And I agree with you, Safari Dean. Certainly some people, and I've said this before, some people, when you put your arms around somebody and sort of breathe them in, if you like, you get a sense of whether that smells like home, whether it smells comfortable to you, whether it smells like something you want to smell again, or whether it's kind of, ooh, that's not necessarily bad, but it's just not, it's not right for me. I get that so strongly with people that I meet. And the other interesting thing that I think that we don't think about, I think that it might be slightly controversial. I think with the widespread use of contraceptive pills, and that of course changes the physiological makeup of women, or certainly it changes the hormonal cycle, and I think that women will smell different to each other and to men, very subtly so subtly that you wouldn't consciously be able to tell a difference. And I think that it does make a difference to our actual interaction. Here are two buffalo bulls, one of them missing a horn, one of them with a magnificent set of horns. Oops, how about Tibbs? Tibbs is just straightening the camera. And there, that chap's lost his horn. And unlike the impala we saw yesterday, who had a kind of exploded eye, I think this guy may have lost both of his horns. Has he lost both, Tibbs?
It looks like that, yeah, I suppose.
He's just got himself a bit of a helmet on his head now. And that will have hurt, no doubt. But you can still see the stumps there. Christy, I don't think you need to worry if you come on a safari. You say, is it not wise to wear perfume? No, it's perfectly wise. If you want to wear perfume, you wear what you like. It's not going to attract or repel any animals, I don't believe. If you're on a walking safari, yeah, I mean, you don't want to smell like the inside of a perfume shop, because then you will just be a lot more obvious smelling. But animals have very sensitive noses, and I think you'll find probably some of our perfume, although they might smell obvious to us, to an animal they wouldn't know really how to interpret them, because it might mask our human scent, which these animals definitely pick up immediately. And as I say that, the wind has just sort of switched and blown from behind us straight towards this buffalo, and you can see him reacting by looking at us, sniffing the air, and hiding behind a tree. I think he's going to come out. I'm just going to sit here for 1 minute and see if he doesn't pop his head out. certainly, I mean, you can tell immediately when these animals smell human scent. Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. He's picking it up, and even though he can see us, he's now smelling human. And that to these animals is not pleasant. It's all fascinating. I really enjoy these discussions. It's so often things we don't think about. We're all very aware of them, but we don't necessarily think about them. Well, Margaret, very good question. What could hit a buffalo so hard to make it lose its horn? And the answer is very simple, Margaret. Only another buffalo. So I think we've certainly been seeing a little bit of conflict around the waterhole here in front of the Juma Dam here. And I think that buffalo probably has had a sort of fight with another one. I've seen him before. In fact, I've seen. I think it's the same one. He certainly had one horn left, and he was still having a bit of a fight with another bull. So yeah, I think it's just an old set of horns there, probably slightly more brittle than other might be when they were younger, and that's what's caused breakage. Headbutt against another buffalo. There you can see the sun starting to break through, the light starting to become a little more golden. Lovely light. That gold mixed with grey is just wonderful. Very nice question. I'm not sure that there's any definitive answer to your question. We were looking at some waterbuck earlier, and you want to know, is it true that their scent makes them distasteful to predators, not good to eat? Scott, definitely the best way to answer that is to say that if I've eaten waterbuck and it doesn't taste bad at all. I think it depends very much on what happens just post-death and just prior to death. So like you say, if there's a huge adrenaline rush and there's been a long chase, apparently they do have glands in the skin that will taint the meat and make it taste bad, certainly to us. But to elephants, not to elephants, to lions and that sort of thing, I don't think it makes any difference at all. They will readily eat waterbuck. There's something very sweet smelling here. Can you smell it, Pip? Like a nice flower or something. I'm just trying to find what it is. Especially after the smell of that hyena den. Very nice smell, like a sort of jasmine-y type smell. Onto the subject of smelling, Marianne, you ought to know if an elephant's ever come close enough to me to smell me with its trunk. Not so that it's touched me, but certainly it's been, within that distance. And it's doing that precisely so that it can smell me. And if you watch elephants when they sniff the air and they put their trunks into their mouths, and that sends a signal to the vemeronasal organ of Jacobson, and that interprets the scent and helps them to decide whether they need to be afraid or not. I can't find what that nice smell is. Lovely olfactory or smelling question from Terry in Santa Ana. You say you've heard that dogs can sometimes smell. Their sense of smell is so acute that they can smell if their owners are sick or not. And do I think that wild animals can do the same thing? I definitely think they can. I've no doubt in my mind that they're able to interpret a healthy animal from a sick one. I think that helps when they're breeding. So a sick animal will be unattractive. And I think the same goes for human beings, not necessarily through smell. but I'm sure that they can tell health. And I think that if we, as human beings, were more attuned to our own sense of smell, I think we could do the same thing. There's that rather grim TV series called Hannibal, which I'm sure some of you have seen, where Hannibal Lecter picks up the scent on his patient, picks up a disease through scent. And I mean, of course, that's just a story, but I do believe that it would be possible. Natasha on Twitter, like you say, the discussion on the human and animal scent does open all sorts of questions about our non-verbal human communications. Absolutely it does. And there's so much going on in our own minds when we meet people and look at them, visually and smell-wise, that we're not even aware of going on subconsciously. Certainly my own nose, I've got a very sensitive nose, and when I meet somebody, it's one of the first things I will notice about them is their smell. You say that scent I just smelled, a very nice smell, was maybe a lady having walked through here and will take my fancy because she has the right smell. Well, I'm searching hard into the bush, but I don't see Scarlett Johansson walking through here, tracking any animals at the moment. Here the birdies now starting to sing as the sun comes out. There's a robin calling there and a lark. Tibbs, there's a little bird there. Can you see it? Just in front of us. We seldom see them so well. That is a rattling cisticola, everybody. The rattling cisticola. So often you hear it going chip, 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 chip. Just listen around us now. As the sun comes out, the birds don't like it when it's cloudy. Now they're all starting to sing. That's a Sabota lark calling behind us, and it's mimicking other birds. It's mimicking a white-browed scrub robin. Starling up ahead. Tibbs, where's that bird? Oh, there, right in front of us. It's a black cuckoo shrike, I think. Wow. And there's a starling. Very strange noise for a starling to make. I'm not sure that was the original bird that I saw there, though. Oh, there it is. Bear with me, everybody. If it's a black cuckoo shrike, it'll be quite special, but it isn't. They're both starlings. Both Cape glossy starlings.
3 birds.
There are 3 there. Are they all the same, or was one different, do you think, Tibbs? One starling, 2 starling. Yeah, you're right. They're all starlings, Tibbs. So well done. Oh, hang on. There, that one isn't. The one on right on top of us here isn't a starling. I think that's a black cuckoo shrike, everybody. Yeah. I'm just going to play the call. And they can be a little bit more colourful than that. Sometimes they've got a bit of yellow on them. Let me just play the call quickly before he runs away. Come on, come on, come on, come on. There we go. Let's see if it reacts. Has it gone? I think that's what that was. Couldn't see with the light. Just playing the sound now. You can hear it now. No, maybe it wasn't. It certainly wasn't a starling there. Fascinating. Right, let us press along. I'm going to head towards the Juma Dam, see what's going on there. No word at this stage on those dogs, everyone. I think everyone gave up looking for them. They were in a very thick flock. And then those big Land Cruisers, they're not nimble like these little Land Rovers. I think it becomes quite difficult, so I think they gave up after a while. Lots of hyena activity from last night all over the road here. And it wouldn't surprise me if Karula had come into this area. She does like this area especially if she's not on the hunt, which I don't suspect she was yesterday evening. The other thing that the rain makes for this sort of time of year, especially if there's a drought, is that, you know, after it rains, a lot of the predators will come out and start remarking their territory. But of course, in the absence of rain, there's no need for them to do that. So I wonder if in drought years we don't see fewer predators that we would sort of marking their territory than we would in wetter years. Right, let's head across to Brent Smith, get an update on what he's doing. I think he's looking for Karula, and I'll keep you posted on my progress a bit later.
So we're still in search of the elusive Karula, the dominant female leopard on Juma. And well done, James, for that black cuckoo shrike. I'm sure that's a lovely new bird for a lot of bird lists. So we still haven't found any tracks, and I sort of wonder if she's not just sleeping not too far away from that carcass. But we are checking her normal haunts, the areas she walks when she's scent marking the boundary of her territory. Checking in all the marula trees, which we know she likes to climb. And there's a marula tree. I've actually seen her before, and I posted a photograph of her jumping between branches, and it was in that marula tree in the middle when I was out on tracking team. But she's not there today, unfortunately. So we have a question from Louis. Hi, Louis, who's on Twitter, who would like to know what is my favorite bird. Louis, that is an incredibly difficult question to answer. I have lots of favorites. And let me think. In this area, I'll keep it to Juma because there's so many birds in Africa. My favorite bird on Juma, I must say I do have a very soft spot for the African hawk eagles. They're such stunning birds, as well as a pygmy kingfisher. I think would probably be my top two birds at Juma. But I think my favorite bird in Africa is an incredibly strange and large bird that I encountered in the Central African rainforest. And that is it there. It's called a great blue tarako. And this feather is actually from the rainforest and it belongs to the great blue turaco. And you could hear them almost every day calling when I lived in the rainforest. A very deep guttural quack, 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 quack. I can't really do it too well, but I think there we go. But at Djuma, it would have to be the African hawk eagles or a pygmy kingfisher. There's an African hawk eagle. Number 2, sorry. Number 3 is an Ayers hawk eagle. And a pygmy kingfisher, which have just arrived. We've been seeing a few of them. Rollers, there we go. Number 3, a pygmy kingfisher. So on the subject of birds, out of all the kingfishers that occur in Africa, I have seen all but one. And it is my nemesis bird. Unfortunately, it lives in a very bad place to visit. It's called a white-collared kingfisher. And it only lives in what is modern-day Eritrea and Somalia. So both not the best places to go visiting. So of all the African kingfishers, that is the only one I haven't seen. And chocolate-backed, beautiful kingfisher we used to see regularly in the rainforest. And then also in the rainforest, we had lots of these beautiful little kingfishers. Exquisite. Anyway, let's carry on looking for the queen. I might do one last gander at that steenbok leg that's left in the tree. Female impala and a baby. See, quite jumpy in this windy, overcast weather. Got to be on the lookout for Karula. You can see how before she moves into the thickets, stops and listens and smells a little bit more intently than she would on a windless, warm day. I don't know what she spotted. Let's just wait a few seconds. Now, she's listening to me. You see how her ear turned towards me. So just being cautious, not wanting her little one to become a snack for a predator. Brian on Twitter would like to know if myself and the crew have any large New Year plans. So we actually do. We are joining up with Candice and Mike. Candice is the general manager of Djuma. Mike is an ecologist, and this is her husband. And we are having a large prawn braai. For those who do not know what a braai is, it's a South African word for barbecue. So most of us will be eating prawns off the barbie, except for poor Jamie, who is not able to eat prawns, so she shall be having calamari. But that is the plan. Yes, and a very valid point from Louise. A prawn is a shrimp. I think you guys refer to them as shrimps more than prawns. It's flying away, don't worry. So that is what we shall be doing for the New Year's Eve. And the sunset safari on the 31st of December, the end of the Carnival Challenge, will be Andrew and my last drive before we depart on our holiday. and we have big plans, Andrew. We are hoping if Andrew gets his life together and collects his passport on time, we are hoping to go visit Andrew's parents who are up at Lake Kariba in Zimbabwe. So we plan to do a spot of tiger fishing and a spot of photography in a different part of the bush. And that's the strange thing about people who live and work in the bush and love the bush. Even when they go on holiday, they tend to go to the bush, just a different bush. So after checking all the boundaries, I'm very much convinced that Karula is still somewhere on Djuma. So we are going to be trying our best to find her. If we don't manage on this sunrise safari, hopefully the sunset safari will produce the queen. And there is a little male steenbok, and that's what Karula ate for Christmas dinner. Not that particular one, of course. And I don't think his mate either. It's quite a distance from where we are. So if we look around carefully, sometimes you can see the female. Steenboks are monogamous antelope. Live in very small territories of about 4 acres. See, everyone's really alert today. This wind and cloudy weather. See how alert those ears are peeking up. And Andrew, if you double tap or zoom, you see steenbok have a very pronounced preorbital gland on their face, and they use that to scent mark extensively. So they will rub that against grass and branches and bushes to mark their territory so other steenbok know. Also, one of the only animals here that is not dependent on water, and I have seen them, actually, we have seen them on LiveSafari digging up tubers and bulbs from grasses and different plant species, and they get quite a lot of moisture from that. Of course, if there is water available, they will drink it, but they are not dependent on water at all. And the only member of what are called dwarf antelopes that we get at Djuma. Oh, itchy. This guy's standing so nice and still for us. Well, I'll let him continue his vigil and feeding so he doesn't get caught unawares. Oh, Matt, let us get a little bit closer. How's that, Andrew?
A little bit
Forward.
forward.
There we go. And we're a little bit closer. And steenbok is very intently staring towards the monkey orange thicket. But the fact that scratching ears, not too perturbed. I don't know. What do you think, Andrew? You see how it's very much looking. I think he might be checking out his chick. So it might be checking on the whereabouts of his female. But just in case, I think we are going to go back a little bit and have a look a little bit more closely at that monkey orange thicket. Exquisite little antelope, though. And one of the funnier names in a local African language, Setswana, is for a steenbok. It's called a pududuhudu in Setswana. Yeah, no, we're not going to go back. If he had stopped then and turned around and stared at the same spot, then I would have gone back, but looks like he's decided whatever was there is not posing a threat. Off he shoots. Keeping a close lookout for the female. Bye-bye, little steenbokkel. So, yo, Jim. Jim says, yo, Brent. I say, yo, Jim back. Jim would like to know, what about the secretary birds? Do we get those at Juma? We do, Jim, very, very occasionally. I have not seen one while on live drive, but I have seen while on tracking team. And the place I think we've seen them the most is the Arathusa airstrip. They do occur. They are more common further to the east of us and to the south of us, where you have basalt soils and gabbro soils, so more open grassland. And they use those lovely long legs to prance through the grassland on the hunt for snakes and other wonderful things to eat. We continue our search for the Queen. Let us head across to Commander Bond, who's with a spiral-horned, I don't know, female and baby.
A little herd of nyalas of 3 different sizes.
From copy, any updates?
They're just doing what they do best, of course, which is to just walk gently along the banks of the large drainage line here, or the dry riverbed called the Mawati, and they will eat on the kind of thick vegetation that there is there and sit in the shade as it starts to get a little bit hotter. Beautiful, beautiful antelope. And then there's another version of a spiraled horned antelope just in front of us. There's a kudu, a young bull. That's my head in the way. There he is. You can see his spiraling horns, from which they get their designation. He's not an adult, but interestingly, as you saw him run through there, one of the things that causes death for kudu, of course, is when they're trying to run away from lions, they get their horns stuck in the bushes, and so they've got to run with their heads up like this, and then they can't see where they're going. There's the southern boo-boo. You can hear them in front going. Lovely. Christmas holiday sound for me. All right, so let's drive on. Carolyn in Chicago, you want to know, of course, and you've noticed this because it is a truism, that the prey items, the herbivores, have got enormous eyes, and you want to know there's a reason for it. And well, as the great big bad wolf said to Red Riding Hood, all the better to see you with, my dear. And that is exactly why. It's simply because, yeah, you're right, they need to be able to see as widely around them as they can, and in as great a contrast as they can in order to spot the predators that might come and try and bite them. So yes, definitely, so that they can see better. Yeah, you can just hear those southern blues calling beautifully now. That's not a southern blues there, that's impala running, going there, there. There we go. chased by a ram. No, they're not. They're alarm calling. They're alarm calling just up ahead. Running away. What's going on here? Watch the road tracks, keep looking around, Teds. Initially I had the impression that they were just running.
In front.
Cat.
In front.
Cat's in front. Chip is off. Yet again. Well done. It's a leopard. It's a leopard. Tev's on fire. Look, there we go. And it is not any leopard. Of course, it looks like a young male to me. Let's just look. No. It's a female. I think that's the object of our search, actually, from this morning. I think that's old Karulzi Pops. Isn't that lovely? There she goes. She's just marking her territory there. We're on a road, just so that we can feed it through to Brent. We're on a road called Pangolin Track. Teds, you're on fire. The elegant queen makes an appearance. I think that's definitely Karula. She's got that slightly floppy belly, which of course comes from many generations of little cubs. She's walking back towards the kill that she had yesterday. I don't know if she'll go all the way there. I mean, I'm assuming this is Karula. I haven't seen the front of her. You can hardly see her tracks on the road here. As you say, Tebs, you are the man. Completely. I'm just the driver. There you can see a slightly sort of sagging skin underneath her chest. It's not really so much her belly. It's completely normal, of course. So when I say saggy, I don't mean it in an insulting way at all. Tibbs, that's 3 out of 3, I think, for you, isn't it? Yeah. And the dogs this morning. 4 out of 4. Genius. And I'm not going to try and dash around to the front of her, everybody. Let's just watch her. An Alex Ranger, yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Tibbs has got to be the one who's winning the carnival challenge. It certainly is by sheer weighted numbers. There can be no debate. Nobody needs to see the Queen in its current pose, but unfortunately, what can you do? Yes, there's the wow. The air that was hitherto quite sweetly scented with the dawn is about to become befouled with the great green cloud that will rise off that pile of fresh carnivore dung. Yep, there it hums. Now that, of course, nice... interesting one. We had a discussion about latrines the other day and what, whether any other animal like human beings will move away from where they live to go to the loo. And I said not so much. There's Brent Smith. I said not so much because what they do is they will of course use that dung to mark their territories, and that's exactly what this leopard is doing. Apparently we're going across to Brent now. He's got a better view.
We have decided to join James since we've been looking for this leopard all morning, and well done to Ebbs for spotting another leopard. So she's going to pop out.
Sorry, James, just go again with that update.
There she is. The Queen of Juma has decided to grace us with her presence. I wonder if she will head back towards what is left of that Steenbok carcass. I don't think so. And there's some Inyala very close by that we drove past, and I think she might have spotted them. I saw her ears prick for a second, but they're in that direction that she was looking. So it's going to be interesting to see if she goes straight down that road. She should walk into those Inyala. I've got a feeling she might just cross the road. And this is exactly why Karula is one of the more difficult leopards to track. Walk on the roads. The Queen, however, does not walk on the roads as much as she walks alongside. By impala, snorting very loudly at her. You can hear the snort. That is an impala alarm call. Oh, there you go, a little scent mark. James. So she is heading straight through the block. I love it when leopards get spotted. You see how she puts her tail up in the air. And look how close that impala is to her, running at her and snorting at her. once a predator like a leopard is spotted, so that impala is less than 30 meters from her and keeps sort of jogging towards her, letting everyone know that he's seen her. Yes, well done, you have seen her. So, trotting after the leopard. And she's up ahead. So the main reason I decided to jump into this leopard sighting was I couldn't let James get too far ahead on the predator challenge. So leopard was one I was missing. I think we're all even Steven at the moment. And just try to get hold of James. I'm going to just wait a little bit, see if she goes towards the treehouse waterhole, and we can get James there ahead of us. So if she does drink, he'll be in the right spot. James. James, if you head towards Treehouse Dam, and it looks like she's heading straight towards there.
So that will come back to Dam's Road. I don't think we're going to have the time. I'll make my way in that direction then.
Copy. So what we're hoping is James is going to try shoot ahead, and hopefully she's going to get there. She has changed her direction slightly and going in that straight line almost towards where those little remnants of the steenbok are. But we are hoping she'll go for a drink. Who's a new viewer, isn't this awesome? Juggernock that we're following a female leopard live through the bush. I'd like to know, do leopards ever hunt in prides? They don't. They are a solitary cat. The only social cat, or truly social cat, is the lion, and they're the only animal that, only cat that shows cooperative hunting strategies. Watch your head there, Andrew. So the treehouse waterhole is not too far from here now. She goes for a drink, and nice camera work with Andrew there. Super zoom of the paws walking, and we're going to try and keep up with her. Obviously she is far better designed for moving through the African bushveld than we are in our land, in our vehicle. She's been spotted again, more snorting, and you can see she's quite full. She's not really hunting, she's walking and scent marking. Margaret on Twitter, very upset, and the next charging impala running in to snort at her. And Margaret says she just loves how the WildEarth game drive vehicles do not bother the cats. So unfortunately, I think those impala have changed her direction a little bit. There we go, here they come jogging in. The 3 of last year's babies. And they're pretty. Isn't that wonderful how perfectly they were lined up there? And it's so funny how, in different circumstances, how different animals react. So impala would do that to lion as well, and snort, and actually jog after the leopard or lion for a little bit. But if it happened to be wild dogs, they would not even have time, they would not even think about alarm calling, they would just run. So, unfortunately, because of those impala, she's changed her direction and not going to, looks like she's not going to have a drink, and she's going to keep moving through the bush. So we'll stay with her for the last minute of drive, and we'll definitely be looking for her again on the sunset safari.
That is a giraffe, everybody. I'm afraid Brent's gone black screen. That's a bit of a pity with the leopard right at the end of the show. Anyway, there's a beautiful giraffe that we'll have a look at for the last few minutes, and I'm sure Brent will keep with the leopard for a little while and see where she fetches up so that we can maybe follow her again this afternoon. So, it was a wonderful morning. Started off blustery and cold and turned into something very sunny and very nice. Big thanks to Ted on camera. Thank you to Brent, of course. And Andrew, I'm just turning this radio down. And a big thank you to Solo Flying Louise in the final control. We had some amazing discussions today, so thank you all very much for that. We will see you this afternoon at 4 o'clock with some tea and scones. Until then, please stay safe and happy wherever you are. Bye-bye, and see you then. Bye.